When we're through hiking, it is so easy just to put in that extra item just in case. It doesn't weigh much, it doesn't take much room, and of course the problem is they all add up. So very recently I challenged myself on every little item that I carried and kind of said, is this really worth taking? And I managed to eliminate quite a lot of small items from my inventory. And I ended up with about 10 items that I think are really worth their weight in gold. And I took consideration of their weight, their volume, and possibly what it cost me originally, or what it might cost me to replace it in the future. And these are the 10 items that I think are worth their weight in gold. Right. So my first one might not look like it, but it's an actual sponge. Use it to wipe down any rainwater or condensation off my tent before I put it away. There's no point in carrying rain weight, particularly in winter, when you're almost guaranteed that your tent is going to be wet through. So, good weight, eliminate it all off. This actually weighs, I think it's about 6 grams. So, certainly worth it, and it cost me like 3 or 4 quid. Good thing about this is you actually just put it in the wash with your dirty clothes, wash it, and hey, it's clean again. The other thing is, you will note, fairly colourful, which I like, kind of smiley faces on it. It means that I'm less likely to lose it in the green grass. So that's that item. See what we have next. Ah yes, the buff. Every hike I go on, every walk, every run, I'm wearing a buff of some sort. And it's one of those things that it has multitude of uses for. So when I'm hiking, particularly in winter, I wear it around my neck. All the main vessels of your body pass through your neck through to your head, and therefore it's a good way of keeping yourself warm. Also, as I say, I wear it like a sort of sweatband, and I've used it for like a bandage where I've cut myself. There's times when I have it kind of double looped and I've used it for securing things. The uses are kind of just like endless. And again, I mean the weight, I think when I weighed this it was like 28 grams, so weighs very little. And in fact that reminds me, all the items that I considered, I decided had to be 50 grams or less. Oh, the other thing of course, again, I think most buffs are actually quite colourful, so if you drop it, more likely to find it again. And the other thing is, if you ever do any running, more often than not, they're given away as a freebie, and well, this is a freebie that I got in the US, I think. Okay, next item. Ah yes, so this is not electrolytes, that's the word I was looking for. What I've actually got in here is the white stuff. There you go. Talcum powder. So I find particularly important to look after your feet, particularly if you don't want blisters. And a good way of like cleaning them up and making sure they're dry afterwards is putting talcum powder on. So this is the medical type of talcum powder, and yeah, I would have cleaned my feet and particularly put it on my toes and between my toes, and I think it does a good job of preventing blisters. Talking of feet, hand warmers. So yeah, you may be wondering, hand warmers, feet. Well, the connection is I very rarely use them for warming my hands. I actually use them at night, particularly in winter. Put one in either corner of my bed liner or my bag liner, and yeah, I mean, they last all night. This one actually says 10 hours. I've used these before and they last like 12 hours easily. Get up quite often the next morning and still warm, so I might put them in my gloves just to kind of start the day. But yeah, and I mean, this actually cost, I think it was like 50p, the special offer. And in fact, quite often when you go into a outside retailer, hiking retailer, they'll be on the counter there. kind of discounted more often than not. Thru Spade. What I love about this spade, in terms of its usual benefits, is the fact they know what they're onto. They actually tell you on the back how much it weighs. So this one says it's 17 grams or 0.6 of an ounce, for goodness sake. The other thing is, you'll see that I've put duct tape on it. That is because here it's kind of like serrated. And the idea is you might be digging away and come across roots, and you could sort of cut them with that. Well, I tell you, it's more pain than it's worth. So I wrap the tape around it, which obviously I can use for other things as well. But, oh, and I love the other thing, the fact that it's bright orange. You can't miss that if you drop that on the grass or on the dirt. Talking of bright orange, expedition whistle, emergency whistle. This weighs about 6 grams, I think. I bought it about 10 years ago. It's totally solid. You might think, I've got a mobile phone, Nigel. But of course, take this valley for example. You can't get any reception, which obviously means I know I can't be disturbed. But also, if you're on a mountain and you fall off for some reason, then is your mobile going to stay in working order? Is it still going to be to hand? I tend to wear this on my rucksack round about here, so just being able to get down to that. And the other thing is, not many people seem to know what the emergency sound is. Obviously we have the actual whistle sound, but what I mean is the actual message, which is 3 blasts that last 3 seconds each. The great thing, it is an internationally recognized emergency sound, and therefore rescue parties throughout the world, if they hear that, will recognize where you are potentially, and hopefully come to your rescue. So next in my list, obviously the humble toothbrush. What I love about this toothbrush, in addition to being made out of sustainable resource, this one being bamboo, it's impregnated charcoal, and I don't necessarily need toothpaste. I do tend to take the little travel ones, but it means certainly for one night I can get away with that. I have actually cut the end off. It weighed 10 grams originally, it's now 6. And I don't cut it off necessarily to save myself 4 grams. It actually just fits nicely with something else in terms of the space. That's the one thing about toothbrushes, they're a bit awkward in terms of that length of. So yeah, dead easy to cut off if it's wood, and trim it down a bit, sand it down a bit. Right, that's my toothbrush. Ah, a sign of our times. Hand gel. Dead easy to get hold of now. Wasn't necessarily 10 years ago maybe. But I use it not necessarily just for the hands. Again, at night when I'm trying to recover my feet, I want to give them a clean, particularly in winter. Very sweaty, and potentially they've walked through some marshy, boggy, muddy ground. Therefore, I can give them a good wash with this. Equally, whilst merino wood is good, did I say wood or wool? Anyhow, whilst merino wool is good in terms of keeping the pong down, obviously you can do the underarm stuff with a bit of this as well. So useful for kind of 3 reasons. I never take a full one. I'll always use a partial one, because I think this one's about half full and it weighs 50 grams of course, but it will last quite a long time for sure. And of course it's so freely unfortunately available now, for the wrong reasons maybe. Last couple of items. So I have a carabiner. I think on every one of my rucksacks there is a carabiner. So my day sack, my through hiking sack, my photography bag, and they're just so useful. You will have seen on some of my videos that what I've done is actually roll this coat up and attached it onto there on the back of my rucksack. And because it's on the Carabiner, I just know it's secure. And I've secured other things as well. My water bottle. Once I've getting ready to do the last mile or two and I'm collecting water, and I'll fill up my water container. A bit awkward where to put it in, rather than taking stuff out and getting it in my rucksack. It's just so easy to attach to this. So there's just so many uses for one of these, and they cost next to nothing. I think I got like a pack of 5 different sizes for about £5. Can't go wrong. Last item, and almost one of my favourite items, is my little penknife. Weighs next to nothing, razor sharp. I probably use it about once every 3 trips. Sometimes I find with the pouches of food, it can be awkward to open. Dead easy to cut through with this. The other thing is, if you have to cut duct tape or tenacious tape to repair one of your tent or your ground sheet or your coat or whatever, so if you haven't got a sharp knife, very difficult to cut it appropriately to size. But yeah, having a decent penknife. But you just need a diddy one like this. But obviously good enough. So they're my 10 items. They are the ones that I value and I believe are worth their weight in gold. If you did the same to your 10 items that weighed less than 50 grams, what would you come up with? Would it differ to my 10 items? I'd love to hear if you do have a different item, what its weight, and why do you value it so much. Anyhow, I hope you've been challenged by thinking about the 10 items, and I'd certainly have a think about those just in case items. Are they really worth it? See you again, hopefully on the trails. Bye.